Hey, good morning. Here we are on a topic today that probably you've never seen before. It's called matrices. And matrices is just one way to keep information, a lot of data organized. And then we're going to take that data and we're going to add, subtract, multiply, and divide. And so usually when you see this word called a matrix, there's a bracket here. It's very specific that when I see that bracket right there, I want to have some numbers inside of there. All right, and so it's not a parenthesis. So when you're drawing today the matrices, make sure you're drawing a bracket. Okay. All right. Let's hide this guy down here. I don't know if you can see that or not. All right. Let's go to a couple definitions that you're going to need here. Okay. Now this sounds kind of weird, but a matrix is a rectangular array. Now this is kind of a weird word here. Of data. Probably never heard of an array before. Of data in rows and columns. And we'll talk about more about rows and columns down here in just a second. Well, let's just go ahead and do this. Rows go this way. Rows look like something that's going from the left to the right. And columns in data are going up and down. Okay? So rows go left and right. And we always put the rows first, and columns go up and down. Now, elements. This is kind of another, we have a lot of vocabulary today. An element is the individual element. This will all make sense here in a second. In the matrix. Gotta get some definitions before we can talk about it. The individual element in the matrix. Here we are with that rows and columns. Rows always comes first. I want to put that right there. And columns always comes second. Again, this will make sense here in a second when we first see our first matrix. Okay, so rows are the horizontal. Elements. Really secret. Elements are just numbers. Okay, and we read them from left to right. Okay. Columns are the vertical elements. And they are read from top to bottom. Okay, a couple more and then we'll look at our first matrix. Dimensions. Dimensions identifies identifies the matrix by the number of rows. I want to put that first again. Rows always get identified first, and the columns. And that's always the second in when we identify it. Okay? So rows are left and right, columns are up and down. Very important. Okay? Let's go do our first matrix. Alright, here's a whole bunch of data. We're looking at Sue and Eva, I believe is how you say the name. So what we're going to do is we're going to put some labels over here, and we're going to say here's Sue's data, and here's Eva. I believe it's Eva. And I'm going to make a matrices symbol here. Now when I look at all this data up here like Sue, I see some A's and I see some B's and I see some C's. So I'm going to make labels up here for all the different letters that I see. Okay, I want to close my matrix over here. All right, let's go see how many A's Susan has. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. So she has 4 A's. So under the A for Sue, I'm going to put a 4. Let's do her Sue all the way across. Let's do the B's. I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 B's. So these are what we call elements. How many times did the A happen? How many times did the B happen? And how many times did the C happen? Let's do the C's. I see 1, 2, 3. I see 3 C's. Okay, so for Sue, she has 4 A's, 5 B's, 3 C's. Okay, now let's go down and do the other girl. A's, I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's go to her B's. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Man, she had a lot of B's. There are 6 B's. And on the C's, I'm only seeing 1. Okay. So there's a matrices for the data up above for Sue and Eva. Now the dimensions, remember up there above I said it's always the rows by the columns. So how many rows are over here? Rows mean left and right. So I want to do this. How many rows are there? There are 2. It's a 2 by, and now columns. Is up and down. How many columns do I have? 1, 2, 3. So this is a 2 by 3 matrix. Now it's very important that you have this order. Okay, it tells there's 2 rows by 3 columns. Okay. All right. Now elements. This is how we record the individual. These are all called elements. These individual numbers in here. So how we refer to or identify these elements, we usually put an X right there saying, hey, I want, what's the number in, and now we're going to put the specific place for it. And so we're going to put an A and a little sub B down here. Okay, so this will make sense here when we start identifying them. I want what number in the A and the B position. So the specific, the A, again, is the rows. And then what is the B? The B is going to be the column. Okay. Let's go and try a couple here, and I'll show you the example. But this is called a sub number down here, okay? All right, so let's go do one. They said, hey, let's tell me in this matrix over here, I want to know what is in row 1. So row is this way. Row 1 they're talking about, and column 2. So row 1, column 2 would be this guy right here. We're talking about the element number 3. Let's go down this way, and then you can use my examples to go do this one. I want to know the element that's in the place of 2, 4. So row 2, that's this guy, and I want to know the column 4. Fourth number over is 11. Now they want to go backwards. It's always going to be an X here. Okay. So they want to know what the X is. So -5, he's right here. So the first number of the sub number is the rows. He's in row 3 and column 4. Notice they have a comma in there. Oh, I'm supposed to have parentheses here now that I think about it. Okay. It's kind of like coordinates on a plane. You go down 3 over 4. Kind of bad, you might think about it. Here's number 7. 7's right here. So I go down 1, 2, 3. Oh, I gotta put my X. I go down 3 and I go over 1. Alright? Alright, you try these guys here. Let's do number 11 before you try those guys. What's the dimensions of this? Again, you always do by rows. I have 1, 2, 3 rows by 1, 2, 3, 4 columns. It's a 3 by 4 matrix. Okay? Alright, pause your video, do these 4, and let's see how you did. I have the answers on the next page. All right, let's see how you did. All right, I forgot to put my parentheses around this guy down here because that's important. So 9 is in the row 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2. That's 9. Row 1, third column, that's a 1. Negative 2 is right there. I went down 2 over 1 to find my negative 8. Right there it is. So I went down 2 and over to the right 2. All right, so it's not too hard if somebody shows you how to do this. Now, that's how you get these matrices, okay? Now, let's talk about adding and subtracting them. Let's do some adding and subtracting because we're going to have groups here that we have to add and subtract towards. And later on, we're going to do the multiplication. So, matrices must have the same dimensions. That means if in this matrix I have a 3 by 2, I can only add and subtract with a 3 by 2. I can't take this 3 by 2 and add it to this 2 by 3. Okay, so the matrices has to have the same dimensions. And then what we're going to do is we're going to add and subtract the corresponding corresponding elements. Elements, remember, are the numbers inside of our matrices. Alright, so usually they give us a bunch of matrices, and what they say is we want you to add matrix B, which is this guy, to matrix D over here. Now it's a 3 by 2, and that's a 3 by 2, so we can add these guys with no problem. And so I'm going to put a matrix symbol here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the numbers that are in the same position. Row 1, column 1 gets added to this. A negative 12 and a negative 14 is a negative 26. And when I record my answer, I put it in the same location. Row 1, column 1. Now you can do them in any order you want. You could go down and do this negative 5 plus 1, which I know is a negative 4. There's that 4 again. He always looks like a 9 in digital ink. But you could go over here and do this guy. 9 plus 0 is still 9. But he goes in that location right there. So you can do them in any order that you want. You just got to make sure that you got row 2, column 2 goes with row 2, column 2 over here. Negative 1 plus a negative 5 is a negative 6. Do the last one. 16 plus 10 is 26. And 2 plus 9 is 11. Sometimes I'll draw my little brackets here when I'm all done so that I make sure my bracket encloses all the numbers here. You can do the same thing with subtraction. We're going to go over here instead of D. They said I want you to start with B. Now this is where it gets a little confusing because they said I want you to take B and I want you to subtract A. Okay, so now I'm hoping it's mental math here for you. Because B starts out with a negative 12. I'm just going to write it here. Negative 12 minus A, which is 7. So I have a minus 12 and a minus 7, which I know is a minus 19. If you're not sure, then just use your calculator. But be careful because sometimes you're going to have a minus minus. Let's see. I got now a minus 5. So this is what I'm thinking in my head. Minus 5 minus 4, which is a minus 9. I took minus 5, minus 4. There's a minus because we're subtracting right here, okay? I'm waiting for a minus minus one. I see one over here, but let's go ahead and do this one. Nope, here's one. I see 16 is what I'm starting off with. Minus that's in my formula here, and a minus 1. Well, minus minus becomes a plus. And so that guy, very important, becomes a 17. Okay, so when you're doing subtraction, you got to be super careful, especially with those negative ones. Okay, now you don't need to do this over here. I'm just telling you this is what I'm doing in my head or my calculator. Okay, I want to take this 9 because I start with B and I want to subtract 19. So the real problem says is 9 minus 19. 9 minus 19, which would be what, negative 10? Yep. Okay. My next one is a negative 1. Here's one of those. Watch this. Negative 1 minus minus 16. These are the ones that kids mess up the most on, because a minus minus becomes a plus. So now my math problem really says negative 1 plus 16, which is 15. Okay, and now let's do that last one. I have 2 minus minus 2. That becomes a plus 2. So 2 plus 2 is 4. Alright, put your symbol here. And there we go. We got our first one. Alright. I'll go back and look at this one again, because my answer key on my notes here don't say the same thing. So let's check this one out again. Oh, it's a minus 6, not 16. You're probably yelling at me. Alright, I made a boo-boo there. It's a minus 1 minus minus 6. Which a minus minus becomes a plus. So really, this guy is a, let's see, minus 1 plus 6. I don't want to make a mistake again. How about a 5? Okay? Alright, now it matches my notes here. Now, let's go down here and check this guy out. They said, I want you to do a C plus B. Well, C is right here, and I want B. Now, this all the time. Kids try to force this. This is a 2 by 3 matrix, and this is a 3 by 2. You can't put these guys together. You can't add or subtract them because they don't have numbers in the same position. So this one's not a trick question. This one is called no solution, because up there on the top it says they have to be the same size. So this guy, if that happens, you just say no solution as soon as my pen starts writing here. Okay, you try this one, because subtraction is kind of the one that's most tricky. So try this one. So pause your video, try that one, and when you're all done, start it, and let's see how you did. Alright, let's see how you did. I think I got my answer on the next one. I sure do. So we're looking at A and D. It's a 3 by 2, and that's a 3 by 2. So I can do that math. So I took negative 14 minus 7. I'm not sure I like that one. Oh, it's A and D. I'm taking this one and subtracting D. So it's 7 minus minus 14. So when I did it, I did 7 minus minus 14 because it's A, and subtraction order matters. This number, A, minus minus 14, because I have a minus in the thing. And I took 4 minus 1, it's 3. Negative 1 minus 10, 2 negatives is a negative 11. 19 minus 0 is 19. Negative 6 minus minus 5, so that'd become a plus 5, so minus 6 plus 5 is negative 1, and negative 2 minus 9 is a minus 11. Okay, so we're hoping that it's kind of mental math, but if you're not sure, get the calculator out, and for sure, be careful when you have a minus minus. Okay, really focus in on that one. Alright, we can also do this thing called scalar multiplication. So a matrix can be multiplied by a scalar. You did this in 8th grade, because I see you guys doing dilations right now in 8th grade, my success math kids. And so the number that we're multiplying it by is going to be called a scalar. And then this is going to be, we're going to multiply the scalar with each element. Okay, so we're going to need those guys up there. So we have 4 matrices up here, and what we want to do is we want to take matrix C and we're going to make it 4 times bigger. That's all we're going to do. So C is right here, and so these I really like because they go pretty fast. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say 4 times C. So 4 times 1 is 4. Again, you can go in any order. 4 times 13, oh, I need my calculator for that one. I got 52. 4 times negative 4 is a negative 16. 2 times 4 is 8. 4 times negative 8 is a minus 32. And I'm going to take 4 times 7, which is 28. Now, very important, if I have a 2 by 3 and I'm multiplying it, my answer has to be a 2 by 3. It has to look like the same dimensions as this guy up here. Okay? Now they said I want you to take a negative 2 times whatever's in the box A. So, here we go. Negative 2 times 7 is a negative 14. Oh my goodness, I hate these 4s. You'd think by now I would know to make it a bigger 4 so it doesn't close it. Let's see, where am I at? Negative 2 times 19. 19 and 19 is 38. I know a negative times a positive is a negative. Negative 2 times 4. Negative 2 times negative 6. Negative times negative is a positive. 2 times 6 is 12. And negative 1 times 2. And negative 2 times negative 2 is a positive 4. And there we go. We've just multiplied everything in this matrix by 4. We made it 4 times bigger. We call that a scalar. Alright, now look at this. This is now the 9th grade part. We know you didn't do probably those guys in 8th grade because they're usually at the end of the year, but the 9th grade part is doing lots of, so we're going to do like an order of operation. So as I look at this, I see multiplication right here and addition here, so I got to take 3 times my D first, and I'm going to put a matrices down here. So D's over here, so I'm going to take 3 times everything in there. So grab a calculator real quick and record your answers here. So I got 3 times negative 14. I don't know what that was. Negative 42. And then I got 3 times 0, which is 0. 3 times 1 is 3. 3 times negative 5 is minus 15. 3 times 10 is 30. And 3 times 9 is 27. So I multiplied everything there by 3. So I did that first. Kind of like order of operation. I got to do multiplication before I do addition. So now I'm going to add to it letter B up there. So I'm going to put a plus sign here. And now I'm going to just transfer B down here. Minus 12, 9, minus 5, minus 1, 16, and 2. And now, just like up above, we're going to put these two guys together. And that's going to be our final answer. This looks like negative 54. 0 plus 9 is 9. Negative 2. Negative 16. 46. 7, 28, 29. And I want to put my bracket around it. Okay? Alright, how about you try this one? Now you're going to take 5 times D, so you're going to take 5 times everything, you're going to put it right there in the matrices. And then you're going to take negative 2 times everything on B here, and you're going to, well, let's do it this way. This would be easier. 2 times B, because we're going to have a minus sign in there. Take 2 times everything on B, put it in your matrices there, and then we're going to subtract these two. Okay, so it's going to take you a little bit, but go ahead and do those. Pause your video, and let's see how you did on the next slide here. Alright, pretty sure I'm right. I want to double check with my notes here. I got a negative 46, minus 18, 15, minus 23, 18, and a 41. Alright, if you didn't get those, maybe you made a calculating error. So go back up here and check your numbers to make sure that you took 5 times D correctly. And then make sure you took 2 times B correctly. I got those numbers, and then I want to subtract these guys. So location is very important, okay? This guy again is a matrix that is a 3 by 2. You do rows first, how many rows, and then how many columns if they asked us how big is your answer. Alright, so somebody shows you it's not too bad. Here they want you to just state the dimensions. Rows go first. that guy's a 2 by 3. So the x is the by, 2 by 3. Okay? When you're adding and subtracting, they got to be the same size. And multiplication, size doesn't matter. You're just going to take like 3 times everything that's inside it. But if you're adding and subtracting, they got to be the same size. All right. Good luck. We'll see you tomorrow. Let's see how I want to close out of here.